Hi everyone, welcome to Birky's Book Time with me, Mrs. Birky Shaw, and Archibald! Hey! It's Birky's Book Time, your favourite! Actually his favourite time of day is walkies, but we will be going on one of those in a bit and he knows it, so if he gets up and disturbs us, that's because he's looking forward to his walk. Okay, we are now on to chapter 4. Before I do read chapter 4, I want to give a shout out to a lovely girl in my class, Isabel. Hi Isabel, I know you're enjoying the story because you put it on the blog, which is brilliant. If any of you are enjoying the story, please put it on the blog. We've got a class blog and I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're all doing well. Okay, let's go on with chapter 4. The coal bunker was freezing. Lily rubbed her goose-fleshed arms. Gradually, as her eyes adjusted further, she began to see more clearly. The space was not pitch black after all. In fact, a dim light came in through a mesh-covered ceiling vent. The arm, sticking out from a pile of coal, glinted in the soft glow. It was not human, as Lily had first supposed, but an old broken mech limb. It must have belonged to some poor servant who'd got the chop. How horrible. Though it said one thing, no matter how bad life got, mechanicals had it worse. Lily stared at a cluster of dusty handprints on the concrete wall behind her. Evidence of the bunker's past prisoners. Miscreants all. She'd never fit in at this hateful school. Whenever she did something exuberant, she was punished for it. Admittedly, punching Alice had been a step too far. The other girls were sure to have it in for her now. But she didn't worry. She only had to survive a few more weeks, and then, at the end of term, Papa would come to collect her. Time drifted by, the light fading. Lily became vaguely aware of the crunch of footsteps coming closer. Yellow light slivered through the door slats, and when she heard a key turn in the lock, she lifted her chin from her knees. The door creaked open to reveal not the Kraken, whom she was expecting, but Gemma Ruddle, one of her annoying classmates, carrying a tallow candle. Lily shaded her eyes and stared at Gemma, who giggled with embarrassment. "Why, Lily, you look as dirty as a duster." "Is my punishment over?" Lily asked. Cold and grim, she was in no mood for such teasing. "I don't know about that," Gemma said. "All I know is Miss Scrimshaw requests your presence in her study right away. I'm to take you to her." "What does she want, I wonder?" Gemma smirked. "Gracious, I've no idea. Would you like me to go back and ask her?" Then, without waiting for a reply, she trundled off down the narrow alley, back towards the school. Lily ducked through the doorway, pondering this worrying new revelation as she followed the candlelight and the smoky scent of burning pig fat that trailed behind Gemma. They walked up the entrance steps and into the main corridor of the school, where Gemma blew out her candle, for the space was well lit with wall-mounted gas lamps. Passing beneath one, Lily noticed her hands were flecked with coal dust. She looked around for a curtain or some chintzy upholstery to wipe them on, but there was nothing, and Gemma kept marching on. In the end, she decided to settle for the underside of her pinny and hoped Miss Scrimshaw would not inspect her appearance too closely, which was something the eagle-eyed headmistress was often wont to do. "Here we are," Gemma ushered Lily to a bench outside Miss Scrimshaw's office. "You're to wait here until she calls you," she said primly, and before Lily could reply, she sloped off, smirking. Lily was about to sit down when she noticed the soles of her boots had left dusty marks along the hall carpet. She quickly scuffed them away with her toe, then took her seat and waited to be called. 15 minutes passed, with not a peep from the study. What was taking them so long? Were they trying to conceive of some terrible new chastisement? A cold thought struck her. Maybe they were planning her murder. Then they'd sell her organs to the body snatchers, just like the ones in her penny dreadfuls. Or perhaps they planned a fate worse than death. Perhaps she was finally to be expelled. She edged towards the door and pressed her ear to the panelling, trying to hear what was being said inside. It was hard to make out because the thick oak surface muffled the sounds of the room. "It's a terrible state of affairs, I must concur," Miss Scrimshaw was saying. But the truth is, I'll be glad to get her off our hands. She's been quite difficult of late." "She's been difficult since she got here," the Kraken replied. And then Lily heard another woman's voice, a sing-song, foreign accent she couldn't quite place. "She always was an unruly child," the voice said. "Some might say understandably considering her past. She's been hidden and forced to live a lie. Her name, you understand. Professor Hartmann's wishes, of course. I'm not so sure myself. There are always these excuses, n'est-ce pas? She's bound to be worse maintenant with this terrible turn of events. So I thought it best to take her out of school until things are settled." What things? What turn of events? Who was this person who knew her real name? Lily pressed her ear harder against the wood, but the voices had dipped to a hushed tone. She had to hear more. If only there were a glass or something to put against the panel. She took a step back and, glancing round the lobby, spotted a vase filled with dried flowers which stood on a side table. That would do. She tipped the flowers onto the table and was about to put the rim of the vase to the door when, at that very moment, it was opened and the Kraken appeared. Her bulging eyes took in what Lily was up to, but instead of telling her off, she merely took the vase and, offering the briefest of sympathetic smiles, ushered her into the headmistress's office, closing the door behind her. Miss Scrimshaw was sitting at her mahogany desk consulting a letter. Her hair was scraped into its customary bell jar shape, and she wore a black dress with a dark blue ribboned collar. She glanced nervously at Lily before her eyes darted away. "Miss Grantham, or Hartmann, should I say, thank you for coming. Kindly take a seat." Lily walked across the expansive room towards the two high-backed chairs facing the desk. A woman in a voluminous black dress occupied one, her bony hands clasped in her lap. Though her face was obscured by the chair's headrest, her unctuous perfume filled the room with its sharp, overripe scent. Lily knew at once who she was. "Madame Verdigris, what are you doing here?" Her father's housekeeper leaned forward and gave Lily a wan smile, half hidden under a black gauze veil which covered her face. "Bonjour, chérie." "Madame Verdigris has some news about your father," said Miss Scrimshaw. Straight away Lily sensed it was something bad. So much black taffeta and poised concern. It was like the months in London after Mamma's death. Surely it couldn't be that, could it? Not Papa too. She felt bile rise in her throat and dug her nails into her palms. "What's happened?" she asked. Madame Verdigris shook her head sadly. "Ma petite, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but your father is missing. His airship crashed yesterday, flying home." "Oh, perhaps you'd better take a seat," Miss Scrimshaw suggested, but Lily ignored her, gasping for breath. "C'est terrible," Madame's melodious voice continued. "The police, they have investigated the scene, but there was no body, only the remains of his ship. He has disparu, and now we have to presume he is dead." "Oh no!" Lily grasped the chair, but it seemed to slide sideways. The women's concerned faces swept away in a blur, and the floor lurched up to meet her. Silence. A square wooden box. A flash of white melting snow. The crack of breaking glass. A sharp, pungent smell mixed with brittle perfume. Lily opened her eyes and the haze coagulated into Miss Scrimshaw's office. She must have fainted. She was lying on the carpet with Madame Verdigris kneeling over her, clutching a vial of smelling salts. She coughed and sat up, rubbing the sting from her eyes. "Bien, chérie," Madame said. "Lucky I had these." She wiped her hands on a lace handkerchief and stuffed the vial away in her clutch bag. "Why you?" Lily asked woozily. They'd been halfway through some sort of conversation. "Why have you come?" "We can discuss this on the journey." "Journey? Where are we going?" "Why, home to Brackenbridge, bien sûr," Madame said. She stood and brushed down the front of her dress. But I was to meet Papa, Lily said, and Malkin. A sickening dizziness swirled around her once more until she felt terribly confused. Papa promised me to take me on flying. Tears came to her eyes and she pulled the oily hanky from her cuff to wipe her face. At the end of term, they're coming. He wants to fly me home. Mais non, Madame said. Obviously such things won't be happening. We are going home by public Zepp, aujourd'hui, and we will have to hurry to catch the late one, and you will wait at the house with me until we receive news of your father, or until his body is discovered at the crash site. Good, that's settled then. Miss Grimshaw took up the bell from her desk and rang. Within moments the door opened and the Kraken appeared. Ah, Mrs. McCracken, said the headmistress, please could you ask Matron to help Lily and Madame Verdigris pack her things? I think her travelling trunks are in the storage room on the 3rd floor. Madame stood and adjusted the ruched sleeves of her dress. Ce n'est pas nécessaire, Miss Grimshaw. Lily has plenty of clothes at home, don't you, Lily? She can just take a case and what she's wearing. She glanced at Lily's dishevelled, coal-covered dress. So perhaps something neat and black would not go amiss now, eh, chérie? As they left the room together, Lily's mind was awash with fuzzy thoughts, but she couldn't help overhearing Madame tell the Kraken how, if the expense of forwarding Lily's things was too much, they should feel free to divide them up between the other girls. Oh, I'm not sure they'd want that, Madame, the Kraken replied. Perhaps the poorhouse then? Madame muttered. Oh, burn them. And Lily had a sudden devastating inkling of what her new life without Papa would be like. And I'm going to finish there because it's a long chapter, so I'll do it in 2 parts. Right, I've got to go now because I've got to take Archie for his walkies. Walkies, Arch! Archie, do you want to go for a walkies? Do you want to go walkies? I think that means yes. Hope you're all having a good day, everybody. It's the weekend soon, so have a lovely weekend and I'll see you soon. And so will Archibald. Say bye, Arch. Okay, bye everyone.